Why do we charge $1,000 for PRP when you can find PRP for 500?
The quality of the kit matters so much more than people realize. If I use a cheap kit, you're getting a cheap product. If you get a cheap product, that's what's going into your body. Are you really happy with unsatisfactory kits and unsatisfactory results? Go to a real place doing real PRP.
Welcome to the Peak Performance Podcast, your guide to optimizing your life one health tip at a time. This podcast is designed to entertain and inform, not to provide medical or health advice. Always consult your doctor when it comes to your personal health or before you make any changes to your diet, exercise, or lifestyle.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, grab your keys and get ready because this is Longevity Unlocked. That's right, new branding. I mentioned it on our last one, but we were going to do Longevipod, but our internal marketing team, i.e. Doc's wife, did not like Longevipod, so that got shut down. So we're going for Longevity Unlocked.
We got permission for that one. We asked.
So I think it's pretty cool. I actually think it's better than Longevipod.
And what's important is we checked and no one else is using the name. There's not 17 of them like Peak Performance.
There are so many Peak Performance podcasts. Mm-hmm. So welcome to the Longevity Unlocked podcast. Got to get used to it.
Take a minute.
Yeah, we'll let it soak in. Anyway, today we're going to talk about PRP. It's something that up in Greenville, our nurse practitioner gets a lot of questions on. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of the myths surrounding MSK PRP injections. You know, how are they different? Why is the pricing so disparate across the market? Mm-hmm. And what's the effectiveness of PRP versus like single joint or full supporting structures and all that. So, I mean, just to make this as simple as possible, Doc, can you start by explaining the 3 levels of PRP?
Well, let's rewind back to what is PRP. So PRP is we take your blood and we spin it down and we get all the healing factors out of it. And that's what we're injecting. Because why do muscles heal really well, but tendons and ligaments don't? Muscles have really bad blood or really good blood supply. So when they get injured, your body will heal them. You can wash enough healing factors and fix them. Tendons and ligaments, they have bad blood supply. So when they get injured, your body has trouble getting enough healing factors in to actually repair. So what happens is we take those healing factors for PRP, because they're always floating around in our blood, and we concentrate them to like 10 times a key word, but 10 times normal levels, and we directly inject them. And that creates more blood flow, plus putting in the growth factors.
So basically, you take the blood, spin it around, pull out the magical healing juice.
Yes.
And then put that in the area where the blood normally can't get to.
Yes.
And that's how it helps repair.
Yes.
Okay.
Now PRP, it's been around a long time. It started with, I could make PRP in a test tube and it'll cost me roughly 40 cents. I take your blood, I pull it into like a yellow top tube, I spin it, and I pull it out. I call it dirty PRP. A couple reasons. One, it's almost impossible to get a leukocyte poor PRP. So PRP, you might look at it might be super yellow, might be orangey, which is a little bit of red blood cells in there, or it might be like dark, like red. And that means there's a bunch of red blood cells in there. When you do dirty PRP, there's a bunch of red blood cells in there. So it creates a huge inflammatory reaction, which hurts. A little, I'll range between orange and yellow. When you get to red, huge inflammatory reaction.
It just hurts too much.
It hurts too much. Problem with that, the second problem with that is it's an open test tube. So let's say your doctor has a cold and they breathe into that test tube. And now there's germs in there. And now you're injecting those germs right into your knee, which has bad blood supply. And now you've just created an environment for germs. So your risk of infection is higher with dirty PRP.
Don't love that.
No.
Let's not do that.
Yep.
So it's a non-sterile preparation of PRP.
Correct.
Okay. So that's like level 1.
Yes.
Like trash PRP.
We don't call it trash, but it's level 1.
Okay. So not trash PRP, but level 1.
Next is sealed test tube based PRP. So it's same principle, but they have what's called a gel separator in there. So they take your PRP or you take your blood and you spin it, and it separates out the red blood cells and the plasma with a theoretical elevated concentration. And you could suck it back through with a needle. So everything is still sealed and sterile. So your risk of infection is significantly lower. But your concentration of PRP, if you're getting 2 to 3 times physiologic levels, that's actually pretty high for a kid like that.
Okay. And so the the cost on something like that in the marketplace is usually people charge anywhere from $400 to $700.
I would say 200 to 400.
200 to 400.
Yeah, they're doing usually. You only get enough volume usually for like one shot in the joint, in the knee or the shoulder or the elbow. It's usually one shot.
Yeah, so 200 to 400.
Yep,
for that.
and that's
Do people actually offer the dirty PRP?
yes,
And what do they charge for that? Do you know?
probably the same 200
Probably
to
the
400.
same, because you don't know what they're doing in the lab.
Correct. Unless you know enough to say, hey, doctor, is this a double spun leukocyte rich or leukocyte poor solution? And then your doctor will have to tell you what they have, unless they're going to lie to you. If they tell you what they have, then that is what it is. But if you don't ask, who knows what they're doing?
So you don't know what you're getting.
Yep.
So basically, if you're in that $200 to $400 range for PRP, one, you're not going to have a ton of volume.
Correct.
And two, unless you clarify exactly what you're getting and how they're preparing it, you don't necessarily know what it is.
Correct. So that's that. It's also, concentrations. So after that, we have spun, they're kits. And so they are much more like the tubes, they take 10 mLs of blood and they give you back like 4 to 6 mLs of PRP. Now we get into the kits. Now the kits, you're taking usually minimum 40 mLs of blood and all the way up to 100 mLs of blood. Like the kit we use, you take 100.
So 10 times.
Yes,
the
and I
amount of
take that
blood.
100 and turn it into 10 mLs. So 10x. But what happens is the single spin kits, they're better. Usually you're getting around like 5x to maybe 6x concentrations with that. And your buffy coat, your plasma, your red blood cells, your buffy coat's right in the middle. It's a very fine layer. You have to be really careful how you get it. So it's really hard to get with like dirty PRP or test tube PRP. But with the single spin kits, you can get it. But it's still not the same concentration. What we do with the double spin kit, which is what all the academic centers are using, high level doctors are using, it's a double spin kit. So we take your blood, we spin it, we separate out just the red blood cells. Then we spin it again, stick the buffy coat to the bottom of the kit, pull off plasma. So you're saving all of your growth factors while pulling off your plasma. And then whatever's left, you mix back in. So now you've hyper concentrated your growth factors in your plasma.
Gotcha.
That's 10 to 12x PRP.
10 to 12x. So we've got level 1, which is like the dirty PRP, which is the test tube. We've got level 2, which is the sterile PRP, single spin. It's still a test tube, but it's made in a closed system.
Yes.
And which is, what do you say, 3 to 4 concentration?
Something like that.
And then you've got the double spin full on kits,
Yes.
which use a much larger volume of blood.
Yes. And now these kits, they cost the doctor anywhere between like $150 and $350, depending on which brand you go with and whatever you're looking for in it. So like, you can't charge $400 if your kit costs you $350. You'll lose money because that's not counting the needles, the gauze, the bandages, whatever other random things.
And the doctor's time.
And the doctor's time.
Which is usually the biggest expense.
Yes.
So, and that's a very key point there.
Yep.
Like if your PRP is anything sub $600, they are not using the top of the line kit.
No.
It's just, they're not using the same product.
You pretty much get what you pay for because the market range for top end PRP is between $1,000 and $1,500. That's just depending on your location, et cetera, but that's where the top level people sit because you can't do it for less.
Yeah.
So you get what you pay for.
That makes sense. So there's our 3 levels. We've got dirty PRP, we've got single spin, single tube PRP, and then we've got double spin kits for PRP. So when it comes to volume and area of injections, because this is a lot of stuff I see that like online, come get your knee injected, and it's like 1 injection.
Yep.
Or maybe 2. And you're in and out, and you're hoping that'll fix your knee.
Yep.
Can you tell me the difference between that and what you can do with a full double spin kit?
Yeah. So it gives me a lot more volume to work with. But more importantly than that, so a knee joint, we'll talk about knees. A knee joint can take 6 mLs. No matter what kit you use, you're only putting 6 mLs in your joint. And this is where the real difference comes in. Yes, your kit makes a difference, but really it's the person doing your injections that makes the biggest difference. If I inject just your joint, let's say you have arthritis and a tear in your MCL and tear in your ACL and tear in your meniscus and your quads. And let's say you have a really messed up knee. If I treat your joint, that's going to treat your joint. You might get a little bit of coating of your ACL, a little bit of coating of the inside of your meniscus, but for the most part, you're trying to reverse the arthritis in your joint. But why did you get arthritis in your joint in the first place? It's because the stabilizing structures on the outside of your knee are unstable. And so instead of your knee operating smoothly, it starts to wobble. And when you get that wobble is where it starts to grind out. So if you don't treat the outside stuff, that wobble resumes. And 6 months later, you're back where you are right now.
So that right there is the biggest differentiator, right? If you look at how, let's just use knees as the example. If you look at how knees are treated with PRP injections, maybe you do have perfect supporting structures.
Yep.
Very, very rare.
Haven't seen it yet.
Haven't seen it, yeah. And however many knees you've done, you haven't seen it. But chances are you're going to need anywhere from 2 to how many different injections in the knee area?
2 to 20.
2 to 20. There you go. So if you go to the doc and you're getting 1 to 2, chances are that is not the optimal protocol for regenerating.
You'll probably be back in 6 months saying, hey, it worked for like 4 or 5 months, but now it's back.
Yep. Okay, last thing I want to hit real quick on PRP, the number of times you need to do it.
3.
3?
3. It's almost always 3. You can if it's like an acute injury, like sprained your wrist and like you're coming for PRP to help it heal faster, probably get away with 1. But if it's chronic, it's almost always 3.
Yeah. I think the only time I've had massive success in one go with PRP was an acute injury that happened like 4 days prior.
Yep.
You hit it with PRP and it was great in 3 weeks.
Yep.
All my chronic things I've had to do 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else you want to share with the audience, Doc?
Ask your doctors about where they're getting their PRP from. That's the most important question you could ask when going into your consult.
Excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on Longevity Unlocked. I had to remember it there for a second. It was like not coming to me. But Longevity Unlocked. I'm Coach Kyle here with Dr. K talking about PRP, the levels of it, the different ways you can inject around certain structures, not just joints, and how to optimize and make sure that you're getting the right type of PRP.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Peak Performance Podcast, your #1 resource for today's top health hacks and facts. You can follow us on Instagram at the Peak Performance Pod or on X at PerformPod. You can also check out our website and weekly blogs at peakperformancepodcast.online. Again, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. We put out a new podcast every Thursday. The content of this podcast is provided for informational purposes only and is not intended for the purposes of diagnosing, treating, curing, or preventing any disease. Before using any products referenced on the podcast, consult with your healthcare provider. Carefully read all labels and heed all directions and cautions that accompany the product. Information found or received through the podcast should not be used in place of a consultation or advice from a healthcare provider. If you suspect you have a medical problem or should you have any healthcare questions, please promptly call or see your healthcare provider. This podcast, including Coach Kyle, Dr. K, and producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of the information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain endorsements and advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein.